The Wildlife Institute of India was established in 1982 in the context of government's determination to improve the conservation and management of India's rich flora and fauna. For a long time, wildlife management was being taught at the Indian Forest College. However, to bring research analysis and scientific advancements in wildlife, it was felt that an autonomous institute should be established. The foundation laying ceremony of a separate building of the institute was laid by Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, the
It's always a pleasure to be involved in activities such as this. Not because just conservation of wildlife is important, but it is one part of the world we live in. Throughout the ages, many species have just disappeared from the face of this earth because of a change of environment. Today, the species that is really threatened by the change of environment is the human species. And when we talk of conservation, when we look at the ecosystem as a whole, we are really doing it for ourselves. We have to today overcome short-term political gains, political pressures, which prevent us from, sometimes prevent us from doing adequate work for preservation of the ecosystem. The traditions of conservation in India are very old, not just dating back 20 or 30 years, but really going back to the time of Ashoka, when for the first time an ethos of equality for all living beings was expressed. Today, this institute will be just one pillar in preserving that ecosystem. When we look at our wildlife, the pressures that it is coming under, we normally immediately look at the more glamorous animals, the tigers, the elephants, the boar, the rhinos, but an equally, if not more vital role is played by the much smaller animals, the insects, the birds, those creatures which we don't normally even see. When we look at the system, we must preserve every aspect of that system. What is important today is to bring this message home to our administration, to our politicians, to our educated and senior citizens in every corner of the country. We should try and endeavor to bring this home in every district of our country. Because unless we can really get down to the grassroots where it is happening and take preservation of the environment or conservation out of an elitist circle to the people, it will always remain a sort of a nebulous subject for most people. And when we are talking of protecting the environment, we are really talking of protecting the environment from the average citizen who is coming under very severe pressure in his day-to-day life. I would like to have this Rajaji National Park extended even more, and we have a plan to try to join it up with the Corbett Park and make a really proper sized national park in Uttar Pradesh.
The Wildlife Institute of India is aimed at training the personnel and giving them the latest knowledge of the management in wildlife. At Dehradun, at the institute, we met certain important officials and also people and students who are actively involved in getting this training. Let's have a look. Mr. Digvijay Singh, you are the Deputy Minister of Environment, Government of India. How do you view the importance of the establishment of a separate building for the Wildlife Institute of India here at Dehradun?
The setting up of a Wildlife Institute had been on the anvil for quite some time, but we've now expedited it, and we followed the whole infrastructure which was envisaged, and it will be one of the finest institutions in the world for the cause. And originally, of course, there were various claimants for location of such an institution, but we found Dehradun the best for various reasons. Amongst them is that there are the Forest Research Institute and the sylvan surroundings at the foothills of the Himalayas. The institute shall be perhaps one of the most up-to-date in the world, which will carry out the functions that are required for wildlife management currently of an international reputation. Now, conditions, of course, in a country like India for all kinds of protection measures is a little different from other countries, especially as we have a very dense population and the demands on the wildlife habitat is immense.
There are also going to be a lot many research activities that are going to be conducted here.
Certainly. Wildlife is now going out to various degrees of specialization, where merely protection is as it was in the past, is not the only summum bonum. There are other parameters also. We are having national parks and sanctuaries now which are far many more than what they used to be. Even 2 years ago, there used to be many less of protected areas in the country than what they are today. We have 52 national parks and 223 sanctuaries in the country, and we have identified 13 areas which we are going to call biosphere reserves, which is an international concept. And once we declare these various biosphere reserves, which have special ecosystems which we want to protect, then those reserves go into the International Biosphere Registry. So all these have wildlife implications. So the scope of the institution will be very vast.
So we have with us some students of the Wellhams High School, Dehradun. Amrita, you are the president of the Wellhams, and your school is involved in the wildlife activities. Would you like to tell us about your involvement in these activities?
Yes. We in Wellhams have a nature club, which is a registered member of the World Wildlife Organization, and we take a lot of help from the zoological department, and as the Wildlife Institute which has come up now, we do hope that they can give us some more help in that. The officials with me are Chitrangadha Sindhya, she's my vice president, Namrata Chaudhary, the general secretary, and Mandeep Grewal, she's the treasurer. We have a lot of debating and all, and then we make files which are judged at the end of October, around our Founders Day time, and they put in a lot of hard work during their file and things, and they collect a lot of matter, and the one who has more matter and things is obviously is the winner.
What would you like to say?
We also have excursions, and we go to different sanctuaries. Like we went to the Shivpuri sanctuary, and we go to Jim Corbett also, and see the wildlife there, the flora, the fauna. And
what about your involvement?
A lot of girls take part in bird watching and all, and whenever the weather permits us, we do take a small excursion somewhere around. We look at a lot of good birds and we're told about them, their Latin names.
Once we all leave school, we are acting a lot while we are in school, but I think once we leave school, we can do some management courses from this institute, Wildlife Institute of India. Like many people do BA in colleges, I think we can do some management course and help the wildlife of India in this way.
Remarkable. What about you, Gandhi?
Well, we go for expeditions from school, like photography expeditions, and we have marathon walks also.
Mr. Srivastava, would you like to elaborate on the importance that the students get from their being taught wildlife in schools?
Well, we in the school believe that it is important to expose children to as many wide interests as possible within the limitations of school life. And I feel that when they are young, they should be interested in a wide variety of things, and it is natural for children to feel a love for nature and animals, and we in the Doon Valley are privileged because there is so much of plant life and animal life and bird life around us, and we can send them out to watch for themselves and take a keen interest in these things.
I started this club as Nature Club Advisor. I am the Nature Club Advisor, and I don't think any of our officials have remembered to tell you that our principal happens to be the chairman of the same movement. We started it in October 81 with perhaps a membership of about 57 children, and we now have close on 130. We are a registered body. We are registered in Bombay, and we are affiliated. This is the junior wing of the World Wildlife Association. And then, as I said, we have a lot of assistance from outside sources. There's the UN representative, Dr. Sale, who has given us a lot of active help, hasn't he, Mr. Srivastava? And we get a lot of assistance by way of visual media through films from embassies, the Russian embassy and the French embassy.
Father Singh Rao Gaikwad, you're the president of the World Wildlife Fund, India. So would you throw some light on the activities of the World Wildlife Fund as far as Indian wildlife is concerned?
Well, we are still in our infancy. I started World Wildlife Fund India all on my own 14 years ago, single-handedly. I am happy to say that I can look back with considerable satisfaction. It's not only grown from the financial angle, but our main objective, which was to spread the message of conservation, I think has been achieved. World Wildlife Fund India, I think, not only from the people's point of view, but been considerably acknowledged our contribution and recognized by the government. And it's very fortunate that we have established a working relationship. And I think it's been a fruitful one.
You are seriously involved in the conservation and management of the wildlife in our country. So how do you assess the importance of the establishment of a separate institute like the Wildlife Institute of India here at Dehradun?
Well, I would say that it is a long-standing need. It answers the question, it fulfills the need in this sense that there was a constant, totally unnecessary, unhealthy rivalry between the forester and the man interested in preserving wildlife, even in the service itself. This institute, with the curricula, has been so worked out that clash has been eliminated.
But we do hope that since the institute is operating for the last 2 years, with the coming of the building, it will, collaborate in whatever activities are there.
That was a slight joke, but I have full faith that this will flower into not only a national institute, but I hope a regional institute.
The Wildlife Institute of India has been set up with the objective of imparting training as well as conducting research in the field of wildlife and environment. This institute is going to be the nodal agency for all programs in training and research in wildlife in this country, and also for the whole of South Asia region. The Government of India and FAO and UNDP are collaborating in this program. The institute was set up in the year 1982 from the existing Directorate of Wildlife Research and Education at the FRI and colleges, and also the Crocodile Breeding and Management Training Institute at Hyderabad. These two institutions were merged together and the Wildlife Institute of India was formed. We have been conducting educational programs at the postgraduate diploma level for the foresters who are managing wildlife in the field, and we have conducted 6 programs so far and we have trained more than 100 people. We are also conducting orientation courses for the IFS probationers who are going to man forestry divisions. We are conducting orientation courses for administrators. Our whole emphasis is that wildlife management and all conservation programs, they are highly interlinked as developmental issues, because no conservation program can be successful without involving people, without people's cooperation, and without looking for the people.
Mr. Samar Singh, you being the Director, Government of India Wildlife Department, how do you view the importance of the establishment of the Indian Institute of Wildlife?
Well, teaching of wildlife as a subject has been done in the Forest Research Institute for a number of years. In fact, it started in 1959. Then in 1976, a separate Directorate of Wildlife Education and Research was set up in the Forest Research Institute. But the need for providing professional and scientific basis to wildlife management in the country has been felt for a long time, and it was desired that there should be a separate institution which should focus on certain specific aspects. Like, for instance, one of the objectives of the institute, which has been set up in Dehradun now, is to provide an institutional arrangement for developing a whole body of scientific knowledge on the wildlife, the whole diversity of wild fauna and flora in the country. In fact, research in wildlife management has been lagging behind, and the institute will focus on this in a big way. It will also aim at providing information and advice to central and state governments on all the data that it will collect and on specific management problems that will be thrown up from time to time. So the idea is to finally have an autonomous institution which will be, of course, under the aegis of the Government of India, but it will work as a center for providing a greater focus on wildlife education and research, and become a professional center for training of people in this subject area.
Mr. Nagpal, you being a journalist, how do you assess the importance of the Wildlife Institute of India?
See, the importance of wildlife around the world, and not only in India, cannot be underestimated. And it is also not a denied fact that India does have perhaps the largest variety of wildlife in the world. Although this institute was established in 1982, it has not been able to function perhaps as well as it could.
The younger generation is now more aware of the disaster that humanity might face if we do not protect nature. And wildlife is rather inevitable, is a part of nature itself. So I am sure that the foundation stone that Rajiv ji has laid will see the early rising of a great edifice which is not only a symbol of good architecture blended into this greens of the Doon Valley, into the evergreens of Doon Valley, but this edifice which represents the best in quintessence, the best that India can generate in the field of environmental protection, It will create a leadership. It will create a political environment, a social environment, a awareness among the people of India, and not only of the people of India, but I think throughout Asia, this institute will stand out as a model, as a great international center which cultivates, which nurtures, which sustains wildlife in its natural habitat.